Mount Rushmore is a national memorial to 4 presidents of the United States, located in the Black Hills near Keystone, South Dakota. Sculptor Gutzon Borglum took 14 years to carve the heads of the presidents into the mountain face. The monument is considered highly controversial due to being built on stolen land of the Sioux Nation, who continue to demand return of the land. The 4 presidents it depicts are George Washington, the first president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, the 3rd president, Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th president, and Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president. They were chosen as they are said to represent the nation's foundation, expansion, development, and preservation. Mount Rushmore has established itself as an iconic landmark and has even entered the public consciousness. The way in which we are interested in it is the concept of a Mount Rushmore, which is naming 4 notable figures in a field. The field that is the discussion of this video is the All Blacks. The task of naming an All Black Rushmore is immense, which is fitting considering the faces of the mountain are 18 meters tall, or 60 feet, for any Americans watching. With a restriction of only 4 spots, notable All Blacks are going to be missed. So, feel free to sound off in the comments, but let's keep it civil, because at the end of the day, it's just meant to be a bit of fun, and it ain't that deep. That being said, let's get into the video. What better way to be the foundation of something than by being first? So, in that spirit, I've picked Dave Gallagher, who was the captain of the original side who were considered the first team to tour the British Isles. Now, I could have gone with the very first All Black who played in the first game ever played by a New Zealand representative side. However, that type of pick is probably a little bit too much of a hipster pick, so I went with a more well-known pick that is still in the spirit of the Mount. Dave was born in 1873 in Ireland, however moved to New Zealand as a small child. He left school at 13 to get a job to help support family, working as a stock and station agent, who are essentially a one-stop shop for farmers. After moving to Auckland from the Bay of Plenty, Gallagher took jobs in a factory and in freezing works. He played for Ponsonby District Rugby Club in Auckland before being selected for the national side. His rugby career was interrupted when he joined the army to fight in the Second Boer War, serving from 1901 to 1902. In 1903, he played for both Ponsonby and the national side, making his debut on a tour of Australia. International debut against Australia on the 15th of August 1903. It holds the honour of being the first match played between the two sides. New Zealand ran out winners at the Sydney Cricket Ground 22-3. Gallagher was appointed captain for the 1904-05 tour of the British Isles to controversy as some members of the squad felt that there was an Auckland bias. At the time, New Zealand played a unique form of rugby, deploying a 2-3-2 scrum with one forward detached, called a wing forward. Gallagher played in this position and had quite a reputation for it. British journalists described him as a, quote, sheep in wolf's clothing, unquote, and, quote, trouble, unquote. The squad caused a lot of trouble on the field during their tour, winning all but one of their games. Gallagher would return to his work until 1917, when he went off to fight in World War I and was killed in action during the infamous Battle of Passchendaele. His memory lives on not as just an incredibly notable All Black, but also as the namesake of the Dave Gallagher Trophy, introduced in 2000, which is contested by New Zealand and France. For me, the expansion spot was the hardest one to fill. I ended up defining expansion as the action of becoming larger or more expansive. Although this could have been the professionalization of the game in 1995, I ended up picking the 1950s as my era of expansion, as this was a time which saw the rise of the All Blacks and South African rivalry against a backdrop of apartheid, France winning their First Nations title outright, and the emergence of a focus on forward play. A notable player of this era is Colin Meads, who is nicknamed Pine Tree, which is likely a nod to his 6'2" height. Meads was born in Cambridge and came from a farming background. He He would give credit to this lifestyle being the bedrock for his fitness and strength. Meads would play for King Country, racking up 139 appearances for the province. He would make his Test debut against Australia in 1957, going on to play in 55 Tests until 1971. Meads was a quintessential hard man playing an enforcer role. He once broke Benor Dogger's nose because he thought he was the one who kicked him in the head. In a game against South Africa, John Gainsford tried to challenge Meads, but was held by his wrist in a grip so hard it was like being held in a band of steel and told, "Don't bother, son." He also became the second All Black to be sent off when he was shown a red card against Scotland. Despite being down to 14 men, the All Blacks would still win 14-3. A bit of a dark mark against him is his decision to coach a Cavaliers side, an unofficial and unauthorised team on a tour of apartheid South Africa, who would be punished for by being fired from the national selection panel. He holds the honours of being named the country's Player of the Century by the New Zealand Rugby Football Union in 1999, New Zealand Sports Hall of Fame and the International Rugby Hall of Fame. He was also knighted in 2009 for services to rugby and community. Rugby writer Lindsay Knight said, quote, "As a sporting legend, Meads is a New Zealand's equivalent of Australia's Sir Donald Bradman or the United States of America's Babe Ruth," unquote. When I endeavoured to make this Mount Rushmore, I knew Jonah Lomu was going to be on it. The only question mark was around which value he best suits. I ended up going with the development value, as the greatest development of the game was the decision to go professional, allowing players to make a living from it and therefore being able to dedicate themselves fully to the sport. The most notable figure during this period was Lomu, who is also considered by many to be the first global star of the game. Jonah was born in Auckland and attended Wesley College, excelling in athletics and both codes of rugby. He made his debut for Counties Manukau in 1994 and the same year became the youngest All Black ever, aged 19 years and 45 days. A year later saw Lomu have his most notable period of his career, where he starred in the 1995 Rugby World Cup campaign. He scored 7 tries across 5 matches. The most notable performance was the semi-final against England, which saw Lomu cross the line 4 times. We've all seen the footage of Lomu absolutely bulldozing past the English defence, scored with Keith Quinn's commentary of "Lomu! A moment that even the English admit is iconic. In 2000, they voted it as the 19th greatest sporting moment. Lomu would go on to represent the All Blacks 63 times over an 8-year period. What is especially remarkable about Lomu is that he was accomplishing all of this and was unwell. In 1995, he was diagnosed with kidney disorder and even underwent dialysis throughout his career. He was equally influential off the pitch, using his status to support the Pacifica community and charities such as UNICEF and Kidney Kids NZ. On 18th of November 2015, Lomu would pass away at the age of 40. He is survived by his wife and 2 children. Lomu has had a significant impact upon the game, as picking a truly massive wing was not unheard of before. It has pretty much become the norm since. Rugby player Kenny Logan stated, "You could talk about Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. That's what Jonah was. Someone who could change games if you gave him the ball wherever he was." The era that comes to mind when I think of preservation is the 2011 to 2015 era. This is because it was the moment when the All Blacks were at their best and a return to form. This is preservation as it really preserved the mana behind the All Blacks brand when they broke the World Cup hoodoo. And who was the leader of the ABs during this time? Richie McCaw. McCaw was born in 1980 in Oamaru. He played for Corral Rugby Club as a youngster, but really cut his teeth when he attended Otago Boys High School. McCaw went professional and played for Canterbury at NPC level and the Crusaders at Super Rugby level. He would play for the Christchurch-based side 145 times. He won the competition 4 times. He would make his international debut in 2001 playing against Ireland and was even named man of the match. McCaw would go on to play for the All Blacks 148 times. He was the first All Black to surpass 100 tests. Of those 148 caps, 110 were as captain. He was named World Rugby Player of the Year 3 times, in 2006, 2007 and 2010. He was also inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2019. McCaw is noted as being one of the greatest players of all time, especially in his position of flanker, and was notorious for his ability to win the ball at the breakdown, being labelled a cheat and complaints that he gets away with murder at the breakdown. McCaw was known as being a hard man like his predecessors. This perhaps best exemplified by the fact that he played the entire 2011 Rugby World Cup campaign with a stress fracture in his foot. After the final, coach Graham Henry said, "He can hardly walk, and how he played today, I just don't know." So there you have it. Dave Gallagher, Colin Meads, Jonah Lomu and Richie McCaw make up my Mount Rushmore of All Blacks. Go ahead and let me know who is on your list. Hit that thumbs up button if you liked it, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. I make videos whenever I can, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.